Hey everyone, version 1.1 just dropped and we finally have Changli's full kit revealed. In this video, we're going to break down everything you need to know, her abilities, the best weapons, echoes, team compositions, and more. Let's dive in. Let's start with Changli's resonance skill, as I think it's the best place to start with explaining her abilities. Her skill dashes her forward and does a plunging attack dealing fusion damage. It can be cast in the air as well. This can hold up to 2 charges and she recovers 1 charge every 12 seconds. She also gains True Sight after using her ability. Now what is True Sight? You can tell she's in True Sight because her hair starts glowing like this, and True Sight empowers her next basic attack, jump, or mid-air attack. If she uses a basic attack on the ground, she casts True Sight Conquest, dashing towards the enemy and dealing fusion damage considered as resonance skill damage and ending True Sight. If she does a jump or mid-air attack during True Sight, she uses True Sight Charge, transforming into this phoenix and dashing towards the enemy, dealing fusion damage considered as resonance skill damage and ending True Sight. Now for Changli's basic attacks. She does up to 4 consecutive attacks dealing fusion damage, and when she does her basic attack 4, she enters True Sight for 12 seconds. She also has a mid-air attack which consumes stamina and allows her to perform up to 4 consecutive attacks mid-air, and after doing her mid-air attack 4, she enters True Sight for 12 seconds. Her heavy attack lunges her forward with a rising upward strike dealing damage. Using basic attack within a certain time frame after the lunge will allow her to use mid-air attack 3, meaning she can skip the first 2 mid-air attacks, letting her gain True Sight quicker. Her heavy attack in mid-air allows her to perform a plunging attack. She can also use this after True Sight Charge. Upon reaching the ground, she can perform a basic attack within a certain time frame to use basic attack 3, allowing her to gain True Sight quicker, similar to heavy attack from before, but this time on the ground. And her dodge counter just deals fusion damage after successfully dodging. Her intro skill attacks the target and puts her into True Sight for 12 seconds. Her outro skill buffs the next character to take the field with 20% fusion damage and 25% resonance liberation damage for 10 seconds or until the character leaves the field. Changli's Forte Circuit allows her to hold up to 4 stacks of enflamement. She can gain 1 stack whenever she uses a True Sight attack and gain 4 stacks whenever she uses her resonance liberation. Her appearance also changes depending on the number of stacks she has. Here's her at 0 to 1 stacks. Then at 2 stacks her clothes start burning. At 3 stacks the black part of her clothes is gone completely, and at 4 stacks she has a blindfold on. When Changli has all 4 stacks, she can use heavy attack to consume all the stacks and cast Flaming Sacrifice, dealing fusion damage counter as resonance skill damage. She also takes 40% less damage while casting Flaming Sacrifice. Her Resonance Liberation deals fusion damage to nearby enemies and she gains 4 stacks of enflamement. She also gains Fury Feather. This can be cast mid-air. When Changli uses her Forte Circuit, Flaming Sacrifice, within 10 seconds of entering Fury Feather, her attack is increased by 25% and Fury Feather ends. Next, her inherent skill Secret Strategist. When Changli uses any True Sight attack, for each stack of enflamement, her fusion damage is increased by 5%. And for her inherent skill Sweeping Force, when Changli uses her Forte Circuit or Resonance Liberation, her fusion damage is increased by 20% and ignores 15% of the target's defense when dealing damage. And her minor nodes give her 8% crit rate and 12% attack in total. As for her skill priority, I recommend her Forte Circuit first, followed by her Resonance Liberation, then her Resonance skill, and leave the basic attacks and intro skill for last. By the way, if you guys like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to like the video and subscribe. It really helps. Thanks for the support, and let's get back to the video. Now if you've saved up a few more pulls and are interested in getting her sequences, let's take a look at them. Her first sequence lets her Resonance skill and Forte Circuit increase Changli's damage by 10% and increases resistance to interruption. And her second sequence, Enflamement, increases Changli's crit rate by 25% for 8 seconds. I think this is a really good sequence as it pretty much has 100% uptime and could be a good stopping point for most players pulling for sequences. Her S3 increases her liberation damage by 80%, and her S4 increases all party members' attack by 20% for 30 seconds after she casts her intro skill. Her S5 increases Flaming Sacrifice's multiplier by 50%, and his damage dealt is also increased by 50%. Her sequence 6 lets her Resonance skill, Resonance Liberation, and Forte Circuit ignore 40% of the target's defense when dealing damage, which is crazy. That would just let Changli shred enemies. Now I don't think any sequences are needed to clear content in Wuthering Waves, but if you want to go for them, it's up to you. Now for weapons, her best in slot is gonna be her signature Blazing Brilliance. It gives a lot of crit damage from its substat, and its passive grants her attack percent and skill damage bonus, making it perfect for Changli. The standard 5-star weapon Emerald Genesis is also a good option as it provides crit rate from its substat while also providing energy regen and stacking attack percent from its substat. If you don't have the 5-star weapons, you can use the Battle Pass weapon Looming Glass or other 4-star options like the Commando of Conviction and Lunar Cutter. If you're unfortunate enough to have none of the options above, you can use the 3-star Sword of Night to get you started. For echoes, Changli wants the 5-step Molten Rift, which increases fusion damage by 10% and additionally increases damage by 30% for 15 seconds after using a resonance skill at 5 pieces. For echo cost, you want 4331, and for the main echo and 4 cost, you want Infernal Rider with a crit rate or crit damage main stat depending on what you need. It allows you to transform into Infernal Rider, dealing up to 3 consecutive strikes. After the 3rd hit, it grants 12% fusion damage and a basic attack damage buff for 15 seconds. For 3 cost, you want 2 fusion damage main stats, and for the 1 cost, you want 2 attack percent main stats. For substats, you want to aim for crit rate, crit damage first, followed by ER around 130 to 140%, then attack percent, and lastly flat attack and resonance skill damage. If you want to try a more supportive build, you can try the 5-piece Moonlit Cloud set running Impermanence Heron with the same main and substats. For teams, here are some teammates that could work well with her, in order from most synergy on the left to less synergy on the right. First is Chisha, as she is the only character that can make full use of Changli's outro skill as a main DPS, buffing fusion damage and liberation damage. And Encore is a solid option as well, as she can benefit from Changli's fusion damage buff. Mortify is another option to make use of her Resonance Liberation damage and fusion damage buffs. Tao Chi can work as a support for Changli as she provides a shield and resonance skill damage deepen, which is great for Changli as most of her damage is skill damage. And Yinlin could work as well as she just gives great off-field damage and has a resonance liberation damage deepen. You can run Sanhua for her quick rotations dealing damage and her basic attack deepen, which works for Changli as she uses quite a few basic attacks in her rotation. And for the 3rd slot, the obvious choice is Verena as she's the best support. She grants the team tons of buffs, but you can also use Janshin if you want for grouping, shielding, healing, and a resonance liberation damage deepen. Baiji can also work as she provides similar buffs to Verena, so you can mix and match depending on who you have or want to use. And that's it. Let me know what you guys think about Changli and how many pulls you guys have saved up for her. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps me make more videos like this. That's it for me, and I'll see you guys next time.